The night sky over the Negev desert was moonless and dark, painted only by the faint glow of distant stars and the soft hum of military aircraft cutting silently through the air. The air was tense still, as if even the wind held its breath. Below, a convoy of armored vehicles moved quietly over uneven terrain, their headlights dimmed, tires crunching softly over the sand. Inside one of the vehicles sat a small team of soldiers, their faces painted in camouflage, their expressions cold and focused. These were not ordinary troops. They were among the elite members of Israel's most secretive and skilled special forces unit, trained for missions that never make the news and officially never happen. The team's commander, a man known only by his Oren, checked his equipment one last time. He was calm, his movements deliberate, but his eyes betrayed years of experience and burden. Every soldier under his command trusted him completely, not because of his rank, but because of his history. He had led missions across borders, rescued hostages from impossible situations, and had once disappeared for months behind enemy lines before walking back into base alive. Tonight's operation was one of the most dangerous yet. Intelligence suggested a high-value target, an arms broker target, multiple terror networks, was hiding deep within a fortified compound near the border. The plan was precise. A small team of 7 would infiltrate under the cover of darkness, neutralize the guards, gather intelligence, and extract without leaving a trace. The soldiers sat silently, each reviewing their mental checklist, their weapons gleaming faintly under the dim red interior lights. The youngest among them, barely 24, felt his heart pounding in his chest. This was his first live operation, and though he had trained for years, nothing could truly prepare him for the weight of real combat. Oren noticed his unease and gave him a brief nod, not a word, just a gesture of reassurance. In this world, silence spoke louder than speech. The vehicle stopped, the rear door swung open, revealing the vast emptiness of the desert night. The sound of the wind returned, whispering across the dunes. The men stepped out one by one, their boots sinking slightly into the cool sand. The only light came from the stars and the faint green glow of their night vision gear. They moved swiftly and silently, spreading out in formation, their weapons ready. Communication was limited to hand signals and short, encrypted radio bursts. Every sound mattered. Every movement could mean life or death. For hours they advanced, navigating the desert terrain with precision, guided only by GPS and instinct. Then, through their scopes, the faint outline of the compound came into view. A cluster of low buildings surrounded by a tall wall, guarded by patrols moving in slow, predictable patterns. Oren crouched low, studying the scene through his binoculars. He whispered into his mic, his voice low and steady. The team split into pairs, circling the perimeter, finding weak spots in the security. One soldier attached a small device to the main power line, preparing for a brief blackout that would mask their entry. Another synchronized his watch with Oren's. At precisely 02:17, the lights in the compound flickered, then went out completely. In the momentary confusion, the team moved in. Within seconds, 2 guards were silently taken down, their bodies lowered to the ground without a sound. Another guard, startled by the darkness, barely had time to reach for his weapon before a tranquilizer dart found its mark. The team advanced room by room, their movements fluid, practiced, mechanical. The air inside the compound was thick with tension, every creak of the floorboards magnified in their ears. Oren led the charge into the main building, his rifle aimed, his eyes sharp behind the green tint of his night vision. The corridors were narrow, lined with boxes of weapons and crates marked with foreign serial numbers. They found the target in a back room. Seated at a desk cluttered with documents, maps, and satellite phones, he looked up in shock as the door burst open. But before he could speak, Oren's team had surrounded him. No words were exchanged. A quick injection put the man to sleep. And in less than 2 minutes, he was secured, blindfolded, and ready for extraction. The retreat was as swift as the entry. Outside, the wind had picked up, carrying sand across the dunes. The blackout timer ended, and the compound's lights flickered back to life just as the team disappeared into the darkness. From the air, a faint silhouette of a helicopter could be seen descending silently beyond the ridge, ready for pickup. The extraction was timed to the second. The soldiers loaded the unconscious target aboard, climbing in after him. Within moments, the helicopter lifted off, its rotor blades slicing through the desert air. Inside, Oren removed his helmet, wiping sweat from his brow. His breathing was steady, but his thoughts raced. He looked around at his team, all accounted for, all alive. The youngest soldier, the one who had been nervous earlier, sat quietly, his rifle resting against his knees. Oren gave him another nod, this one heavier, more meaningful. The mission was a success, but it was just one of countless others they would carry out, most of which the public would never know about. The faces of these soldiers would never appear in the news. Their names would never be spoken outside classified briefings. And yet, every mission like this one shaped the security of the nation, weaving an invisible thread between danger and survival. As the helicopter soared toward the horizon, the desert below stretched endlessly, silent and indifferent. The radio crackled softly with encrypted chatter from command, confirming their success. Oren leaned back, closing his eyes for a moment. He thought about the lives saved because of their work, but also the toll it took. The sacrifices, the secrecy, the sleepless nights. Every soldier on that flight carried invisible scars, the kind that never fade even in silence. Far below, the compound was already being discovered by enemy reinforcements. Confusion and chaos erupted as they realized their leader was gone. Their communications disrupted, their power grid tampered with. In less than 15 minutes, what had once been a secure stronghold was now a smoking ruin of uncertainty. The Israelis were ghosts. They came, they vanished, and no trace remained except whispers and unanswered questions. The flight continued for hours, crossing unmarked territory before finally reaching a remote base hidden within the desert mountains. As the helicopter touched down, medics and intelligence officers rushed forward to receive the captured man. The soldiers disembarked silently, their bodies exhausted but their expressions controlled. They handed over the target, saluted Oren, and disappeared into the barracks without fanfare. There would be no celebrations, no public recognition, just another quiet success in the shadows. Oren stood for a long moment on the landing pad, watching the first hint of dawn break over the horizon. The sky shifted from black to deep blue, streaked with faint orange. It was a reminder that even in the harshest darkness, light eventually found its way through. But for men like him and his team, daylight meant little. They lived in the spaces between, where silence was their shield and secrecy their duty. He walked slowly toward the operations tent, ready to file his report, knowing that by sunset, another mission would be waiting. The desert wind picked up again, carrying the faint scent of sand and fuel. In the distance, the first rays of sunlight touched the ridges, illuminating the barren beauty of the land. And as the base stirred to life, Oren looked out across the vast expanse and thought of the quiet price of their work, the endless cycle of preparation, execution, and return to the shadows. For the world outside, they were myths, legends, the nameless defenders of a nation's secrets. But for Oren and his team, they were simply soldiers, ghosts of the night, bound by duty, moving always toward the next mission that no one would ever know about.